Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the Cārvāka podcast. This podcast was supposed to happen on Wednesday, but then Tushar said, "भाई मैं तो धुरंधर देखने जा रहा हूँ." मतलब absolutely condemnable behavior by Tushar Gupta. हजार लानते हैं ऐसे लोगों को जो फर्स्ट डे पिक्चर देखने जाते हैं. हजार लानते तुषार गुप्ता को. एंड देन आई वाज लाइक ठीक है आज करते हैं. द श्याम शर्मा शो विल हैपन टुमारो. मैं फर्स्ट डे पिक्चर देखने नहीं जाता, but I understand why people are going. It's an interesting movie, but by the way, part 2 is like 4 freaking hours, boss.
ठीक
4
है,
hours
कोई
की
बात
पिक्चर है. सह लेंगे, थोड़ा देश के लिए सहेंगे अब. देश की इकोनॉमी के लिए. But for those, let me give everyone a brief background. So today's podcast is going to focus on the LPG crisis. For the record, I believe my definition of a crisis is this: that whether people like it or not, there is shortage or not is not the issue, but there was a sense, there was a emotion based on that, and there was hoarding done whether we like it or not, and that has created some bottlenecks in some areas in the eyes of the people. Now it's very interesting that this is a member of my podcast. I'm reading this verbatim from a member of my podcast. Bhai, I myself am a LPG distributor of BPCL. Trust me, my supplying plant has enough domestic supply for our entire territory. The LPG domestic supply was never stopped for us in our entire territory. Now, this gentleman's name is Keval Desai 1997. I respect what he's saying, but I can tell you the problem was not in certain cities, but yes, in certain areas. I'm telling you with some level of responsibility that there were problems, and these problems were created by hoarding by the city people, till the extent that I was flabbergasted. That just an anecdote, but a friend of mine who's into home appliances told me that मेरे आधे जिन्होंने लोगों ने इंडक्शन कुकर खरीदे उनके घर में पाइप्ड गैस है. Retardation and 76 IQ is a trend in this country. People who have piped gas in their houses, let me break it to you. भाई तेरी गैस इंडिया से आती है, तेरी तो बाहर वाली गैस भी नहीं है भाव. तू काय को इंडक्शन कुकर खरीद रेला है. मतलब this is how messed up this is. But there was a crisis, like it or not. Now I'll let Tushar make his point. Tushar might not think there is a crisis, and I just laid down where I am coming from. Now I'll hand it over to Tushar.
No, look, no one can deny there is a problem. All right. And so far, we haven't really felt the impact because one, it's only been 17 days since the war began. Now, for those who are thinking 17 days is a long time and we should already feel the ramifications of the war, no, that's not how the logistics of crude LPG, LNG work. But there is a war going on in West Asia. Our LPG, LNG comes from there. Even though we produce 40% of the LPG we consume in India, 50% of the LNG we consume in India, and we get significant part of our crude from West Asia, Iraq, Saudi, and UAE, there is a problem. Ships are not going through the Hormuz, and there is certainly a concerning situation. Even today, when the government did its evening briefing, they said they're still not in a position to say everything is all right. They're still concerned about how the developments are working. अब ये तो है सप्लाई साइड प्रॉब्लम और ये दुनिया भर में है. ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ इंडिया प्रॉब्लम में है. आई डू नॉट वांट टू कंपेयर अस टू से बांग्लादेश, श्रीलंका एंड पाकिस्तान. I mean, Bangladesh and Pakistan are as good as slums, so let's not compare ourselves to them. I think you should look at what's going on with South Korea, TSMC, Taiwan, China also to a certain extent. When chip manufacturers start having problem and they have one of the most secure supply chains in the world, that is when you start worrying. And some will say helium is a very small component of it, but there is a problem. So, yes, we have a problem, and domestically, it hasn't been felt yet. I mean, I use a piped natural gas connection in Delhi. I haven't felt any problem, experienced any problem, not even a second of disruption or delay. The simple litmus test I would request viewers to do. I do not want to make a blanket opinion of how things are in India across cities, across towns. But look at how your restaurants on Zomato and Swiggy are still listed. How many of them have gone offline? How many of them are working with a tweaked menu, say serving 4 items instead of 10? Right? Start looking at those things, because for every area, I cannot make a blanket statement. I can tell for my area
No, but
where
the
I.
Restaurant Association of Mumbai has gone and done a meeting with the Chief Minister
Hmm,
of Maharashtra. They
huh.
have.
So, huh.
See, these are the inside information news that I'm sharing. So they are
Huh.
shitting bricks right now. Those canteens, especially people in canteens. Like I'll give you an example. My
Hmm.
friend who teaches at the CA Institute said the CA Institute had to change its menu to bhel puri, pani puri because that does not involve usage of gas. Just being very honest with you.
For the record, I love pani puri, bhel puri, and sev puri. So yeah, but yeah, there.
Even I was happy, but I was like, क्या मेन्यू में
नहीं नहीं,
भेलपुरी पानी पूरी नहीं है.
अभी अभी नहीं नहीं, देखो, ये प्रॉब्लम है, बट आई कैन ओनली से अराउंड यू दैट्स द ओनली वे यू कैन वेरीफाई. Where I live in North Delhi, it's a very high population density area. Lots and lots of eateries. For the last 16 days, I haven't seen anyone complaining about shortage, any tweaking of the menu, any disruptions, large orders, small orders, nothing. But I cannot assume that the situation will remain the same 15 days from now. So the restaurant associations, of course, are panicking. Commercial cylinders mein hoarding kar rahe hain log. The police has also done a lot of raids. So we are in a sort of a flux. And supply side की तो जो problem है देखो भाई है, डिमांड साइड पे जो हो रहा था, जो पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज ने किया है, it's the same story that we saw during the pandemic with oxygen cylinders. No one in the government is also denying, even today, when our tankers have started coming in, that the situation is concerning and we are monitoring everything. But for the political parties to jump the gun and say shortage hai, create panic, create hysteria. Now, the problem is there is a shortage on the supply side. It can be managed. अगर 10 सिलेंडर आ रहे थे, अब शायद 8 आएंगे, 7 आएंगे, 6 आएंगे, जो भी है. 10 का मैं कह रहा हूँ, चलो 8 आ रहे. On the demand side, the panic that is created by media, and I blame the media also, for heaven's sake, channels are showing ships coming into ports as if we are dependent on external countries only for LPG and LNG, as if we do not
क्या
produce anything.
क्या आज तक ने शंखनाद बजाया कि नहीं?
वो बंद कर दिया after the government advisory came in that you cannot sort of do all this nonsense and the ratings are suspended. They stopped doing it. But it's hysteria. So people, what they do to confirm things are normal. Everyone who might not even need a cylinder or a refill right now, they'll line up. कि भाई मैं तो एडवांस में चल रहा हूँ. 150 लोग तो हम हैं ही, सब है. हर शहर में, हर गांव में, हर जिले में 150 हमें. एक के बदले 2 सिलेंडर लेने पहुंच जाएंगे. पड़ोसी ने 2 रखे हैं तो मैं भी 2 रखूंगा. So that creates a demand side problem, which is exactly what happened. Now, the restaurant associations are right to freak out because the government and it's all in its sensibility is saying, look, we have to cater to the households first, then we go to the commercial. They know that the commercial entities, for the sake of running a business, for the sake of profits, for the cushion they might have, they will be able to absorb to some degree an expensive cylinder. सरकार को इतनी भी समझ है कि जो होर्डिंग हो रही है, जैसा वो सप्लाई एक अलग इनफॉर्मल इकोनॉमी चल रहा है. The government is not oblivious to it. But they also understand households cannot take that dent, especially the middle class households. When I'm talking about people with incomes say less than 5 lakh, an household income of less than 5 to 6 lakh, which are not urban enough or not living in gated societies where PNG is already there. So the government is also looking at multiple scenarios right now. But it's a very tricky situation. I mean, there is no denying the hard fact. This is a very tricky situation we are in right now.
Now, here's the thing. 2, 3 things that the government could have done to avoid this scenario is the government could have anticipated the scenario and they could have said कि भैया हम और stocks कर लेते. Obviously, this is all in hindsight, but I think that's a fair criticism to say that like I don't agree with your analogy of the black swan event on this one. I'm just stating it on the record. I believe this is not a black swan event. I think the government should have increased its reserves, and fine. Now, like in everything in life, I think we learn in such scenarios. And secondly, also, one question that nobody wants to assess is that if this war lasts for a little more time, and if all Iran has to do is basically keep drones, and the cost of fighting a war because of drones has reduced significantly for the underdog. That's the
Hmm.
lesson that this entire skirmish has done. And this is a fundamental issue that the government has to learn. Whatever is done is done. We can't do much. Two, we are a net importer of oil. This
Hmm.
podcast is about LPG. So I know LPG mein hamari situation itni kharab nahi hai. Two, we have to now get into more and more non uh, import related options in these things. Essentials have to be managed by India. I wish we go double on nuclear power and many other options. I think we'll have to look at solar, wind, whatever. If my farts can generate electricity, then please use them too. I don't care. My point being is, as a country, unfortunately, we only learn when shit hits the roof, and this is a shit hit the roof kind of a scenario. But to discount the absolute dog shit mentality that people have is my biggest
Hmm.
criticism of the government, in my opinion. And the second thing is, to assume that people will not panic is rather naive. Like, people panic, human beings are stupid. And this country, give or take, does not have an IQ of more than 80. So, what was the government thinking? In an 80 IQ country, what do you think was going to happen? So, I mean, there is this, the government should have been more robust. And two, boss, Adit has been saying this. I know Adit now for a long, long time, like almost a decade.
Hmm.
Adit and I have been friends. Like, Adit is a very open BJP voter supporter. Adit's
Hmm.
biggest problem with this government since its first day has been, why can't any Indian government, especially this government, come out and do weekly press briefings? Like, why? What is this? We don't answer to anyone. Why? See, especially at times like this, in COVID, the first 3 days was panic. But after that, in COVID, the government was constantly communicating. I can tell you a lot of pain and agony and tension was reduced. The government should communicate more with people. The problem is the government doesn't communicate. The government doesn't communicate, the opposition is going to fill that space. Boss, nature abhors vacuum. And you're not going to waltz over everything by saying, "Arey, ye to humko koi bolne ki zarurat nahi hai." But why, man? Why? Like, even a guy like Trump, no matter how kooky he sounds, he comes on the camera and he takes questions, right? He can call CNN fake news, he can call this, whatever, man. But they communicate. Even right now during this war, Trump is still communicating. The problem, my problem is, boss, there is no communication. Neither from the BJP, neither from the government of India, neither from the ministry. At least I don't see any communication. Communication has to come on WhatsApp. Communication has to come on social, other digital platforms. It has to come on majority media platforms. You have to actively communicate, because I believe there was no shortage. This was a manufactured shortage by nefarious elements. I actually know it for a short fact कि कैसे मैनेज की गई है ये shortage. And the opposition tried their best to create this shortage in many areas. But it is what it is. This is like, I am genuinely frustrated by this entire process, because for what? तू ये सोच, तू ये सोच, ऑयल जो हम इतना ज्यादा इंपोर्ट करते हैं तुषार, उसकी स्ट्रेस नहीं है. समझ रहा है? पेट्रोलियम जो हम गैस से मच मोर इंपोर्ट करते हैं, उसकी स्ट्रेस नहीं है. और एक चीज जो हम आधी, ऑलमोस्ट आधी डोमेस्टिकली जनरेट करते हैं, उसकी स्ट्रेस है. इट्स अ कम्युनिकेशन
Hmm.
फेलियर.
No, that it is. I think for almost 6 years now, I have been advocating that you need a White House model. The PMO should have a press secretary. It should be a post that is a full-time post. You have briefings twice a day, thrice a day, whenever required. Right now, people will say, "Oh, but there is sort of a briefing going on every evening with some senior bureaucrats coming in. Look, communication is an art. The way they do it, it's not going to stick. You throw up a random bureaucrat every time a new crisis happens. In your mind, you're communicating, but people, they can't resonate with it. It's the harsh truth. There is a reason news channels stick with anchors for the prime time for years and years. They don't change them rapidly. And think about this, the anchors you see from 7 to 11 on a national news channel, Hindi, English, whatever, they are fixed. The ones outside it, they don't care because those are faces that resonate with the audience. People trust those faces to deliver them the news. Biases, ideology, that's separate. That's noise here. You do not have a face people can look up to during any crisis, big or small. And I'm sorry, it cannot be the prime minister every time. It cannot be a cabinet minister every time. The prime minister was proactive during the pandemic because pandemic was a different ballgame altogether. It was, I don't know, a crisis which no one understood until the last day. But then you had the Russia-Ukraine war, you had a supply chain issue, you had a West Asia war, you had Operation Sindoor. There needs to be a press secretary like the White House has. There needs to be a PMO press choir. Get leading channels to have their representatives, get leading newspapers to have their representatives, set a threshold for digital channels also and websites. That's okay. Have a press choir of say 100 people. You have the bandwidth in a big country like us, from northeast to south to west to north, everywhere. This is the model because people trust. See, it's an open space. It's an open market. People will then trust rumors over everything. I remember the first day of the national lockdown when it was announced. Some people believed the rumor that you can put money into ATM and deposit it in your bank accounts. This was demonetization. Pardon me, not pandemic, demonetization.
Boss, you're in the country where an opposition leader says, "Idhar aloo, udhar sona."
हाँ हाँ। तो एक और भी तो है रीजनल पार्टी का कि 500 का डोलो लेते थे अब 650 का हो गया। See, it is what it is. The regional parties, Kushal and I did a podcast 2 years ago. I think they are not qualified to comment on any matters of geopolitics. उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता देश डूबे, देश में तेल आए ना आए, हॉर्मुज में कुछ हो, हमें तो भैया अपना माइनॉरिटी अपीजमेंट का एजेंडा चलाना है. But coming back to the communication problem, there is one. And when I started doing, and Kushal has been doing this for way longer than I have, when I did a news debate for the first time 8 years ago, a news cycle was 24 hours to 48 hours long. Pandemic aaya, it became 24 hours, 12 hours to 24 hours long. Today, a news cycle changes in 1 hour. One breaking news and on air, every analysis changes, interpretation, communication, broadcasting, everything changes in split seconds. It changes on air in seconds. It reaches social media in minutes. It gets amplified in half an hour. And suddenly, before you know, people are checking on WhatsApp groups. क्या हुआ क्या नहीं हुआ किसी के पास टाइम नहीं है ये वेरीफाई करने के लिए कि ऐसा कुछ हुआ भी है या नहीं एंड PIB website, I'm sorry, people today, people in 1999 could code better websites on HTML than the PIB website we have right now. Communication has to be the strength of the government. It doesn't have to be the duty of a government. This is where I think we make a fundamental mistake. When Trump's defense secretary comes, he addresses the press like John Rambo. कि जैसे मेरे को अफगानिस्तान में जाना है मेरे ऊपर दो बड़े से राइफल रखे हुए हैं and I have this muscular body and I need to address the press as if I'm John Rambo. But they see it as their strength. The BJP doesn't for some reason. And I must say this: these spokespersons also they need to up their game. Kushal, you've been with on a lot of debates with these spokespersons. Some of them we personally know, and without meaning any disrespect, rhetoric is not good answers. Rhetoric is not good analysis. You tell people the numbers they need to know. You tell people facts. तुम उनको उलझाते हो पता नहीं किस तरह के सबको मतलब रिटोरिक पे रिटोरिक झाड़ना है, वो भी गलत है। And people have a genuine expectation that this is what we want to listen to. So I think this is another learning curve, and I hope they learn from it, because there are people who want to cash in on the opportunity to spread fake news, which is what is happening with the LPG cylinders. अभी दो लोगों ने तुम्हारे यहाँ लिखा डोमेस्टिक में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, रेस्टोरेंट एसोसिएशन लिख रही है, क्योंकि रेस्टोरेंट एसोसिएशन भी पैनिक करेगी, उनका भी तो काम धंधा है ना भाई।
नहीं मगर है, देख तुषार, थोड़े लेवल पे है, और एंड यू नो इट
है
इज ऑल्सो
सरकार कह रही
एरिया
है
टू
यार।
एरिया. लेट मी एक्सप्लेन, इट इज ऑल्सो एरिया टू एरिया इन मुंबई. इन सम
हम्म
एरियाज वेयर द सप्लाई चेन मैनेजमेंट and the hoarding was contained better. Again, see, it also is also the job of the police now, how well the police curbs the hoarding. Now in some areas, in at least, see, I can't go to every nook and corner of my country and confirm, but yes, I did travel around Mumbai and I tried to find out. So how
हम्म
do you find out ये गैस का सिलेंडर किनको लगता है, ये रोड साइड टपरी और छोटे
वड़ा
छोटे इन
पाव।
लोगों को सबसे
हम्म
ज्यादा लगता है. सो द फर्स्ट टेस्ट यू डू इज, रात को जो तेरा सैंडविच वाला था, या सैंडविच के साथ जो और चीजें गैस का सिलेंडर यूज करके बना के छोटा मोटा देता था और वो सब करता था, उसके पास जाओ. हमारा मतलब, मैं बॉम्बे का
हम्म
एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ. हर आदमी का
हम्म
अपना स्टैंडर्ड होगा. दिल्ली का अलग होगा, पराठे वाला होगा या कोई होगा. तो दिल्ली में लोग क्या क्या खाते हैं तुम लोग. मगर क्या मेरा सैंडविच वाला रेगुलर था? क्या मेरे सैंडविच कम दूसरे एलिमेंट्स वाला बंदा रेगुलर चल रहा था? क्या उधर सब नॉर्मल था? आई एम जस्ट बीइंग वेरी ऑनेस्ट विथ यू. बट क्या इसका
हम्म
मतलब हर जगह प्रॉब्लम नहीं है? नहीं, हो सकता है.
हम्म
आई ट्राई टू कवर घाटकोपर, चेंबूर, द ईटरीज इन एंड अराउंड दैट एरिया. I tried to cover those areas, and I genuinely tried to speak. The tragedy is that good old journalism, jisme you are looking for something sensational and negative, and then I put the camera. That's not what I went with the intention of. Like, I
हम्म
learned my lessons of what is called informing people or investigative journalism through old school people who
हम्म
would go out, actually fetch a story and just understand. I found some parts were saying, nahi sir, thoda delivery late ho gaya hai. So the feedback I got for commercial cylinders was, सर डोमेस्टिक में नहीं, मगर हमको थोड़ा डिलीवरी लेट मिल रहा है. तो हम लोगों का क्या हो गया कि हमें स्टॉक टेकिंग की आदत नहीं थी. लेट्स से आई वुड कीप अ स्टॉक ऑफ 2 days. आई एम जस्ट गिविंग यू अ हाइपोथेटिकल हियर, एज अ रोड साइड वेंडर और अ रेस्टोरेंटियर. अब मुझे वो स्टॉक नहीं रखा ना, तो उसके लिए मेरा 2 दिन का नुकसान हुआ. उसके बाद मेरी साइकिल बैठ गई है. नाउ आई नो मुझे कब आने वाला, उसके बाद मेरी साइकिल बैठ गई है. यू सी, सो नाउ इफ दैट वुड हैव बीन curbed and that would have been dealt with by proper communication, these things could have been avoided. See, government by not communicating creates 15% of the problem. The rest is actually people just being morons. But we can't blame the people in in a democracy. It's always the government that's going to be taking the blame in a democracy.
हम्म
So people are saying, shouldn't there be some form of penalizing for deliberate shortage and creating panic? Boss,
How do
FIRs
you
will be
define?
filed.
हम्म
FIRs can be filed. बट क्या होगा उसका? मेरे को एक बात बताओ, क्या होगा उसका? उसकी जगह बंद करोगे तो और इकोनॉमिक कॉस्ट किसके ऊपर आएगा? जो बेचारा गरीब आदमी उसके उधर काम कर रहा है, उसी के ऊपर आएगा ना. तो some things are also opportunism. Another example I will give to you. कितने लोगों का कुछ हो नहीं रहा है भाई. अभी मेरे को एक बात बता, इंडक्शन कुकर का प्राइस क्यों बढ़ गया है? जाके खरीदने की कोशिश कर इंडक्शन कुकर का. इंडक्शन कुकर का प्राइस ऑलमोस्ट डबल हो गया है.
ट्रिपल।
कोई रीजन है इंडक्शन कुकर का भाव बढ़ने का? कोई रीजन है? सेम
हम्म
चीज एयर प्यूरिफायर्स के साथ हुई थी आज से 4 महीने पहले, दिल्ली के तेरे सीजन के पहले, विंटर को किक इन होने के पहले. तभी एयर, सी, दिस इज जस्ट, दिस इज द मार्केट. ये वो जो उबर और ओला की सर्च प्राइसिंग का मॉडल है. और क्या करें? अभी अभी आप बोलोगे तुम ऐसे टाइम पे कर रहे हो, अभी क्या करें? क्या करें?
भाई दिक्कत ये है ना, मैं तो फार्मर प्रोटेस्ट के टाइम से देख रहा हूँ, सरकार काम कर रही होती है, अभी भी प्रोडक्शन रैंप अप हो रही है, जामनगर रिफाइनरी पुशिंग आउट मोस्ट स्टफ, सब हो रहा है। बट आप बताओ तो सही लोगों को, आपका टैंकर आ रहा है, अब जयशंकर एफटी को बता रहा है कि भाई वी हैव एन अरेंजमेंट विद द इरानियंस ऑन अ शिप बाय शिप बेसिस। ही टोल्ड दिस टू एफटी आई थिंक 36 hours ago. Okay, or rather, yeah, 30 odd hours ago. Okay, why can't you tell it to the press in India? Why can't you put it out on Twitter? I find this odd. I find this very odd. You are being very candid with the Financial Times, which will anyway report it, which will anyway reach India, which will anyway be picked up by the opposition, by the mainstream media. You're telling them at a time when it's midnight in India, tell it to the public that there are tankers coming. अब मेरे से आके लोग पूछ रहे हैं कि भैया टैंकर आ भी रहे हैं या नहीं. सी अगेन एक प्रॉब्लम जो ट्विटर की जनता और यूट्यूब की जनता के ना, तुम्हें लगता है तुम पढ़ के न्यूज खोल के पढ़ रहे हो तो सारी दुनिया पढ़ रही है. ऐसा नहीं होता. If you are on Twitter following certain news, even amateurishly, even as a casual observer, it doesn't mean 1.4 billion Indians are doing that. So this is where the whole communication comes into play. We alone are not screwed. But then, as Kushal rightly points out, we don't have a population like us anywhere else in the world. If there is a crisis someplace else, people will figure out ways as a community to deal with it. Over here, it's more of an individualistic society where people are hoarding for themselves. जिन लोगों ने जिंदगी भर इंडक्शन को कोसा है, अब वो लाइनें लगा के खरीद रहे थे. Obviously, the price had to go up by 3 or 4 times. It's market. People who want to profit will profit here, right? And again, we do not know where this will head. Even now, we do not know. Even the government is not committing. The government is being very mature in admitting that we do not know where the war will go, because Trump, on one hand, is saying the war is over. On the other hand, you have thousands of Marines right now going from Singapore to the Middle East through the ocean. And mind you, 24 hours before Americans attacked Iran on 28th Feb, the American side had actually said talks are progressive, yielding results. So anything can happen, but the communication has to be done.
See, it's a communication issue, and the problem is that in such situations, right? I don't know, people think कि मेरी लाइफ में कोई भी दिक्कत नहीं होगी. भाई ऐसे तो हो नहीं सकता. अगर आप एक ऐसी सिचुएशन में हो, which we are unfortunately in India, we're not going to change a lot of things. People don't realize that one of the best things that boss, I am saying this as an Indian, one of the best things that could have happened to us is 5 state elections in the next month. कम से कम गवर्नमेंट भाव तो नहीं बढ़ाएगी चीजों के, क्योंकि उनको डर है वो हारेंगे. भाई इतनी तो मैं तुमको गारंटी दे रहा हूं, गवर्नमेंट वो तो ना करे, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट को इलेक्शन जीतने का सबसे बड़ा प्यार है. वो ये सारे लॉस खाएगी, तुम्हारे ऊपर नहीं आने वाला है, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट को, सरकार को भाई कम
नहीं
से कम
यार,
2 स्टेट में तो बहुत इंटरेस्ट है.
अब देख, दिक्कत की बात ये ना, with this year we were taking pride in where our fiscal deficit had reached.
वो
That will go
हिलेगा.
for a toss. Hilega. Second, inflation is super low, so there is some degree of room the government has. But where does it stop? I was on a debate earlier today on CNN, and they claimed, I don't know, I've not verified it yet. They said we are buying crude at $136 per barrel. I don't know. Times is claiming $137 per barrel. If that is the price we are buying it, sure, a month, 15 days, the OMCs will take the cushion, they'll take the hit. But beyond that is what worries me. And this is where this whole crisis is becoming a headache. People in the earlier days were like, oh, we should side with Iran, we should side with Israel, America, blah, blah, blah. Look, there is a strategic partnership between America and India and Israel and India. We cannot deny that. But our side in this war is our energy security. And this is where I don't see Trump exiting this war anytime early. It's the midterms later this year. The last thing he needs is a shameful exit from the war. So I
Iran
don't
is
know.
not going
It's
to give him an exit, boss. For Iran, it's very simple. If the
hmm.
if the regime survives, they won. They
They
won.
won.
The
Yeah.
Americans and the Israelis can spin it the way they want to spin it. They won, the Iranians.
So
Simple.
that is Iran has weaponized the global economy at this point. It's safe to say. See, Trump hasn't been great for the global economy. He first screwed the world with tariffs, which have yielded absolutely no results. Now we are looking at crude at $120, LPG crisis in India, across our neighbors also, though I don't care about them. But you have different kind of supply chain crisis in the Middle East. Acha, ek cheez aur hai. The kind of discourse we had on LPG, LNG, and crude was also very shameful. People confuse this for merchandise imports कि टिफिन के बॉक्स थे, वाटर बॉटल थी या प्लास्टिक के डब्बे थे, तो चाइना से नहीं आया तो कहीं और से मंगा लो। ऐसा नहीं है। These things take 10 to 30 days to arrive at the Indian shores, another 2 to 4 days to be discharged into storage tanks, then another week to 10 days to get to our, local sellers or directly to our homes in the case of PNG. So this entirely is at least a 25 to 45 days process. You can't just diversify overnight. You said, should the government have prepared for this? I don't think any country was prepared for the Hormuz to be shut for this long. I still do not understand how the Americans did not see it coming, to be very honest, that Iranians could do that. I don't know. But no one saw this come,
Boss,
clearly.
this is the official statement of the President of the United States of America just
Hmm.
a few minutes ago or an hour or so ago. This was shared on Truth Social. This is the official statement. I'm going to read this verbatim for the audio listeners.
Hmm.
Donald J. Trump, okay? The United States has been informed by most of our NATO quote allies. The quote is very important because it's sarcasm, that they don't want to get involved with our military operation against the terrorist regime of Iran in the Middle East. This, despite the fact that almost every country strongly agreed with what we are doing and that Iran cannot in any way, shape, or form be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. I am not surprised by their action. However, because I always consider NATO, where we spend hundreds of billions of dollars per year protecting these same countries, to be a one way street, we will protect them, but they will do nothing for us, in particular in a time of need. Fortunately, we have decimated Iran's military. Their navy is gone, their air force is gone, their anti aircraft and radar is gone, and perhaps most importantly, their leaders at virtually every level are gone, never to threaten us, our Middle Eastern allies, or the world again. Because of the fact that we have had such military success, we no longer, quote, need or desire the NATO countries' assistance. We never did, all caps. Likewise, Japan, Australia, or South Korea. In fact, speaking as President of the United States of America, by far the most powerful country anywhere in the world, all in all caps now, we do not need the help of anyone. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. This is next level Rona Dhona, boss. This is a precedent. हम कैसे टाइम पे रह रहे हैं मुझे खुद को नहीं समझ में आ रहा.
But नहीं समझ आ रहा भाई, कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा। एट दिस पॉइंट किसी को कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा। पिछले हफ्ते काफी न्यूज वाज कमिंग थ्रू सोर्सेस। रिमेंबर ANI was putting out a lot of bits and pieces, sources. I think at that point even the government wouldn't want to commit to anything. It's too volatile. The situation right now is too volatile. Just that people have lost interest because it's been 3 weeks now. But the situation is as volatile as it was on Feb 28th. दूसरी चीज को ये भी पूछ रहा था कि why won't we move completely to electric model like the Chinese have? People, please understand, moving to an EV structure to cut down dependency on crude is like moving from the Middle East to the Middle Kingdom, which is China, for all your dependencies. आप एक सप्लाई चेन से या एक इंपोर्ट डिपेंडेंसी से हटकर दूसरी पे नहीं जा सकते। Remember, for EVs, you need lithium-ion batteries or whatever evolving battery technology there is. We still do not make battery cells. We still import them. Ambani tried to do it with a collaboration with a Chinese company. The Chinese government cancelled it. So we people think that the supply chains of the EV or electric renewables is very simple, say solar cells or whatever. It's not. It's far more complicated than crude. And we should do a podcast separately on it someday with a lot of data. But the kind of rare earth, rare minerals, critical minerals that go into EVs, it's very, very complicated. And China is where the entire supply chain resides. This is where they have complete dominance. So, would you rather have India depend on the Middle Eastern nations with which we have some degree of relationships, and Russia and Venezuela, or you would want to completely depend on China where everyone goes to EVs? So it's a very dangerous choice that we are stuck in. ये एक problem है.
नहीं वो प्रॉब्लम होना ठीक है बॉस बट एट द एंड ऑफ द डे you can only deal with the hand that has been dealt to you. To say what China could do or what China can do, is what we should do or what we can do is the only thing I would say we should be worried about. And as of now, we, we need to do whatever we can now. If that
Bhai,
means
this is what I wrote on my Substack yesterday. We have to bide our time. It's. I mean, अगर आप सोच रहे हो where we are right now as an economy, we can do some heroic stuff. Americans in their head did some heroic stuff. Now even their closest allies are not standing with them.
yeah, I mean,
Theatrics
yeah,
and optics are not always a testament to intelligence. That's
yeah, yeah.
what we always say. The boring stuff gets you the growth. If the prime minister has to negotiate with the Iranian leadership, he will. He won't compromise energy security at the altar of an American war. He won't do that. He did not sacrifice our energy security in 2022 at the altar of Western idealism, which is what I keep going back to. That in 2022, we diversified. And now people are saying, why can't you get discounted Russian crude like you were getting in 2022, 23? Why is Russia not giving you a discount now? Isn't this diplomatic failure? Firstly, Russian oil was under sanctions across 23, 24. Number two, they were selling at a discounted price because of the limits put in by the White House. And if people think that how can White House put a limit over how trade happens all across the world, I'll give you one figure. Every day, $7 trillion worth of trade happens all across the world. 7 trillion. $6.3 trillion worth of that trade is carried out in American dollars. Americans, like it or not, have a hegemony on the entire global trade by virtue of their control on the entire finance network. So it's very easy for them to shun someone out, which is what they did with Iran in 2011, 2012, and eventually 2018 when Trump walked out of that deal. So there are a lot of factors here at play. But this is what we have to do. We have to bide our time. Kushal spoke about building reserves. Even though LPG require high investment, high tech, the cost benefit analysis is skewed, but you have to start preparing to make more reserves as the Chinese have done for crude, for LPG, for LNG. You have to ramp up production. There is no other way of looking at it.
And again, my humble request to the government of India is, we are already pushing a lot of reforms. Again, use this as an opportunity. Indian reforms have always happened at its peak when shit hit the roof, because that time the politicians could tell the public, देखो हमें ये करना पड़ेगा नहीं तो हम मर जाएंगे, and the public is like, हाँ अभी तो करना पड़ेगा. Make most of it and just freaking go full on with economic reforms. I think we should just kiss goodbye to this obsession of, less than 5% fiscal deficit for the next 2-3 years. Let it go to 5.3, 5.4%. Just ride through this and just manage it, boss, and
See,
get some reforms done.
one fundamental thing as a market of 1.4 billion people and an aspiring economy will always be a preferential market for America, for China, for Europe, everyone. But what we negotiate and how we negotiate should happen from a position of strength, not dependency. That is where we have to up the game. And we are. I mean, with manufacturing, we are. But then with chips, there is a problem where also we are making some progress. Like the prime minister is signing frameworks and MOUs with Brazil, with countries that are very rich in critical minerals. ये सब background में हो रहा है. मतलब दुनिया में आप एक्स के अलावा भी न्यूज में बहुत कुछ होता है जो आप नहीं देख पाते हैं, हम नहीं देख पाते हैं, बट बहुत कुछ और हो रहा है. तो उस सब में हो रहा है, बट आई थिंक इट्स अ 10 year 15 year जर्नी दैट वी हैव टू क्वाइटली, rigorously, laboriously just undertake. There is no second option to it. That is what the Chinese were also doing in the 90s and 2000s. I think this was around 1990 when USSR collapsed, around 91. There was the Gulf War and there was the Tiananmen Square protest in China. And these three events had a huge impact on shaping the China we see today. When they saw Americans in the Gulf War, they understood the importance of military supremacy if they ever had to take on the Americans in their backyard in the Pacific. When they looked at the collapse of USSR, they realized the importance of building a strong economy. And when they looked at the protest within their own country, they understood the importance of having domestic reforms that keeps the public, you know, under a certain economic and social threshold where they're not out there to protest what they saw. What are those three events that should have a great impact on our psyche as a nation? We saw the pandemic. I don't think we have learned much from it. At least the opposition and the people haven't. We have seen two wars. Still, a lot of our farmers are not willing to diversify. A lot of our MSMEs cutting down dependency on China, but still they need more push. What are we doing with the lower bureaucracy? That is another question that needs addressal. अब lower bureaucracy में क्या होता है? And I spoke to someone very senior in the government. They told me very honestly, said there's a lot of state government involved. Then let's be very clear. If Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, perhaps Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, whichever state government on the coast is willing to work to fix the lower bureaucracy, push investments there.
नहीं,
I think.
इन्वेस्टमेंट्स तो बॉस गुजरात, तमिलनाडु और ये थोड़ी स्टेट्स में ही होंगी, महाराष्ट्र में होंगी. आई कैन टेल यू विद सम सर्टेनिटी विद द लेवल ऑफ eagerness I see in the MMR region now in terms of infrastructure push from the government. I'm talking about state government. I'm not talking about central government. There are only देख भाई, I really think हमारे देश में 10 स्टेट्स होंगी जो हमारी इकोनॉमी को पुश करने वाली हैं, एंड इट्स ऑलवेज गोइंग टू बी, हाँ मतलब आई वाज बीइंग चैरिटेबल, इतना भी मैं दिल नहीं तोड़ना चाहता था. और अनफॉर्चुनेटली तुझे और मुझे दोनों को मालूम है वो 5 स्टेट कौन सी होने वाली है. अनफॉर्चुनेटली तुझे और मुझे दोनों को मालूम है वो
It's
कौन
not
सी
even
स्टेट्स होने
five
वाली है.
states. It's actually three
जोन्स.
zones. Yeah, and probably, yeah, three zones, honestly. The NCR
I
zone, the
anticipate
MMR zone,
MMR and
uh,
NCR in the next 5 years to be easily a
Bangalore,
2 trillion
hmm,
economy. मैं मजाक नहीं
Bangalore,
कर रहा हूँ.
uh, Bangalore would be there, and
ऑसम
Gujarat.
इकोनॉमी मैन. बैंगलोर,
Hmm,
लोग बैंगलोर के बारे में मैं जितना पढ़ के समझ रहा हूँ, बैंगलोर में एक अलग वाइब है बॉस. वो शहर में जबरदस्त वाइब है. रियल कुछ कर दिखाने की लोगों में एक 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 लगन है उधर भी.
भाई
इट्स एन अमेजिंग प्लेस.
मेरे को तो बम्बई जन्नत लगता है. खैर, फ्रॉम अ डिस्टेंस, आई
नहीं नहीं ऐसा नहीं है
आई
यार.
ऑल
देख बम्बई, बम्बई कैसा है मालूम है. बम्बई
hmm,
का रिस्क टेकिंग एपेटाइट दूसरे किस्म का है. बैंगलोर का रिस्क टेकिंग एपेटाइट दूसरे किस्म का है. दिल्ली का रिस्क टेकिंग एपेटाइट दूसरे किस्म का है. एंड वी डोंट नीड टू कॉपी ईच अदर. एवरी सिटी एंड
hmm,
एवरी एरिया हैज इट्स ओन डीएनए, and we don't need to copy each other. We need to learn from each other, but we don't need to copy each other. I think we need, ट्रस्ट मी, तू नेक्स्ट टाइम बॉम्बे आएगा ना, हाउ अबाउट दिस, मैं
hmm, hmm,
जून में जा रहा हूँ कनाडा, अगर तू उसके पहले बॉम्बे आता है, कम,
हाँ,
I will take you around and I will literally,
hmm,
I will take you around and I'll show you what infrastructure is being planned, why
hmm.
it's being planned, what is the end game, when it gets completed, why are they doing this, and it's unfreaking believable. And अभी तूने मेरे को ये डिप्रेसिंग चार्ट भेज दिया है जो मैं डाल लगा देता हूँ. मतलब तेरे को
नहीं
जरूरी था this करना.
नहीं, मैं तो आज ऐसे ही इन्फो एंड डेटा स्क्रॉल कर रहा था. पीपल शुड फॉलो दैट हैंडल. ट्रेमेंडस वर्क दोस गाइस डू, एंड दे पुट दिस अप. एंड टीएमसी का पार्टी का इलेक्शन है, एंड दे ह्यूज क्लेम्स अबाउट द इकोनॉमी विल बी मेड. सो लुक एट दिस चार्ट. You're putting it up whenever. For all the philosophy, for all the culture, for all the intellect, you need an economy with strong cash flows where people make money. Look at the difference between West Bengal and Gujarat. These are two coastal states.
कर दिया ना तूने मेरे को
And
डिप्रेस.
हाँ, ये स्क्रीन पे लगाया तुमने, आ नहीं रहा.
वाह, आया आया है भाई.
अच्छा
Can't
है. ओके
people
ओके
see it?
ओके.
Can't people see it?
हाँ, they can. My bad. ठीक है. Look at the divergence in per capita income from 2012 to 2025. It's scary.
It's depressing. मैंने इसीलिए बोला ना
हाँ,
डिप्रेसिंग चार्ट है ये.
look at the GSDP, and I think they should. I would recommend them to make this for most states. Compare states like this. Compare them
मैं
harshest numbers.
बिहार को डाल दो, यही कहानी
Hmm?
होगी, बिहार को
हाँ,
डाल दो.
बिहार का तो फिर सब ये कहते हैं ना, लॉट्स ऑफ लेगेसी प्रॉब्लम्स, वो आ जाता है, पर लेगेसी प्रॉब्लम्स भी कब तक? Anyway, it's the state is set to get a new chief minister, which is a different story for another day. But yeah, coming back to the LPG crisis,
नहीं नहीं,
look, we
उनकी
have a
स्टेट को यूट्यूबर्स के बारे में एफआईआर डालने में ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट है. आज अजीत के ऊपर डालिए, एफआईआर में भी स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक्स थी, वो अलग बात है. आई
असली
मीन
भी है. आई मीन
नहीं नहीं,
अगर
असली
स्पेलिंग एरर्स होने नहीं चाहिए यार, ऐसे मतलब.
नहीं है, स्पेलिंग एरर भी है, मगर बढ़िया है. चलो
एफआईआर
क्या
फॉर
कर,
व्हाट?
वो यार, वही आपने एक नेता का अपमान किया, वही बकवास है. इस देश का कुछ नहीं हो
नेता
सकता.
कौन है?
मुझे नहीं मालूम, वो ने पूरा अभी पढ़ा नहीं. ऑनेस्टली मैं पूरा दिन काम में बिजी था, आज पूरा दिन मैं बाहर था, तो मैं सोशल मीडिया पे गया नहीं. अभी मैंने जस्ट मेरे टीएल पे एक ट्वीट आया, मैंने देखा है, मैंने अभी तक उसका पूरा
एक
ट्वीट
सेकंड,
पढ़ा भी दिया.
एक सेकंड.
इट्स जस्ट
ओ,
रिडिकुलस.
अपेरेंटली इट्स कन्हैया कुमार. उसको तो लोग चांटे मारते हैं भाई, उसमें क्या हो गया, गाली दे दी तो.
यार अभी मैं कहता हूँ, इस हमारे, माफ कर दो यार, मैं तो इस देश में यही बोलता हूँ लोगों को, पता नहीं
नहीं, आई
क्या
थिंक
है.
इट्स कन्हैया कुमार
कन्हैया
ना, हाँ
कुमार
मतलब.
या निशिकांत दुबे या जो भी है, मतलब आई डोंट
है
केयर.
ना.
आई
हाँ,
डोंट केयर, लाइक सीरियसली, लोगों को क्या देश है. ग्रेट प्रोमो फॉर माय
चलो.
बुक. तो मैंने अजीत को रिसेंटली मैसेज किया था, मैंने उसको कॉपी भेजने के लिए मैसेज किया था, तो मैंने उसको लिखा था,
हम्म,
मैंने बोला देख तू जेल जाएगा, कम से कम तेरे को बुक मेरी ही पढ़ लेना तू.
हम्म,
पर उसको मैसेज में यही बोला था, मगर इट्स वेरी डिप्रेसिंग.
हम्म,
बट ऑनेस्टली हमारे, all I can say is like every crisis in this country has to be now looked at as an opportunity to push reforms, opportunity to push through many things. What is depressing? You know how we could have avoided this LPG crisis? Again,
हम्म,
if the lower level bureaucratic corruption in this country, which is the biggest curse of this country, people often think, right, the IAS is corrupt. I'm not saying they are not, but I'm
हम्म,
not saying their impact in terms of corruption on the overall system and the way things are run is comparable to what a lower level bureaucrat can do to your life.
हम्म.
And it's the discussion around everything in our country is so depressing, and this LPG crisis is just another evidence of that. That yes, there is a problem. Can the government avoid it completely? No government could have, whether it's Congress, whether it's BJP, anyone. Could it have managed better? Yes. Why can't it communicate better? Nobody knows. Like, this is, I don't know why governments don't communicate. It's just unfreaking believable. Now what we do, just, I don't know, because you can't control Donald Trump and the global geopolitical situations or the Strait of Hormuz, right? We can't control that. Apparently,
We
Donald
can't.
Trump Donald Trump says, "Sab log aao mere saath lado." Then they say, "Why are we fighting?" Then he says, "Okay, I don't need you guys. मैंने तो उनको वैसे ही उड़ा दिया है." I think Donald Trump needs an successful exit, and the Iranians know that's all they need to do. They don't need to give him that successful exit that he can sell to his people domestically.
They
That's
won't give it to
all
him.
they're doing.
Hmm.
It's just pathetic. But how about this? I was thinking that we should now start taking some questions. But before we take those
Yeah.
questions, how about this? You know, सब लोग, I wanted to tell people कि अभी कहाँ गए. हाँ, all right. So कहाँ गया, हाँ ये. So today I'm formally announcing 22nd को मेरी बुक लॉन्च होगी बंबई में. This is the first time I'm sharing the image also of that. So if you are in Mumbai,
ये-
do consider coming. Abhijit is going to be there. Ami Ganatra will be there. Harsh Madhusudan Gupta will be there. We'll start around 12 noon. भाई जल्दी आना, जल्दी आ जाना. मैं तो एक सर्टेन टाइम पे ही आने वाला हूँ. अगेन, एंट्री इज फ्री, जिसको आना है आओ. इट्स इन टाइटल वेव्स, बैंड्रा. If you don't know what it is, it's a very popular bookstore. Actually, it's amazing. It's one of the most beautiful bookstores I've been to, Tushar.
Hmm.
People who like reading books, it's one of the nicest bookstores I've been to. Very well made. And if you guys are from Mumbai, you can come and meet me there. There will be physical copies of the books to be sold over there. And if you're not from Mumbai and you still want to buy the book, वो भी कर सकते हो आप. But yeah, as you can see, title base Bandra में है, so you can come there and join us there. In case you're not from there and you still uh, haven't bought my book, पहली बात तो shame on you कि मतलब ये कैसी किस
Oh,
किस्म
I've
की.
been here. I've been here. Title yeah, there's a good bookstore.
Yeah,
Yes, I've been here.
it's a great
यहाँ पर
bookstore.
मैंने
My favorite
I
bookstore
don't
in
know.
Mumbai. And if you have not
I
bought my book, this is the link. भैया जाओ मेरी बुक लो. मैं तुम्हें अभी भी बोल रहा हूँ, समय है, बंदे बन जाओ लाइफ में. बंदे बनो, नहीं तो आई शेम यू. ये लिंक है, लाइव चैट में डाला हुआ है. जाओ, क्लिक करो, ऑर्डर करो मेरी बुक को. एंड लॉट ऑफ पीपल आस्क मी ऑडिबल का वर्जन आएगा कि नहीं. भैया मेरे को कोई ऑडियो बुक करनी नहीं है, मैं नहीं करने वाला हूँ. किंडल का वर्जन आएगा, वो कब जब आएगा. इंटरनेशनल अवेलेबल हो जाएगी एंड ऑफ मार्च के बाद. वो थोड़ा प्रोसेस को करना होता है. एंड दैट्स अबाउट इट. सो लेनी
you
है,
you
ले लो बुक.
तुम्हारा ऑडियो बुक फनी होगा if you ever do it. After every 2 lines you will shout. After every 4 lines you will abuse.
यार मैं नहीं कर सकता यार, मेरे में पेशेंस नहीं है. सी फॉर मी व्हेन आई
हाँ
डिसाइडेड टू राइट दीज बुक्स, राइट, इट वाज
हाँ
I conceptualized 3 books in my brain. It
हाँ
was a very
हाँ
systematic, and I never thought कि मेरी कितनी X copy बिकेगी, Y copy बिकेगी. It was never about that. It was about me wanting to write these books, put my argument forward, and then move on with my life. I like वो वो my book sold these many copies, or my, because it's not a monetary
हम्म,
enterprise for me, right? It's not like I made itna paisa from the book. I never wrote these books from that perspective. I strongly felt I was connecting, right? My first book was laying the background about disbelief in India and how there are some subtle differences. The second book was about why India is a hellhole when it comes to free speech. And the third book is going to be on the caste issue, where I will, it's like a trifecta kind of a thing. I have all 3 books are interconnected with each other. So I don't know what's going to happen. So let's start taking the questions. Why so many Indians are activists in nature, be it left wing Indians, right wing Indians, influencers, politicians. I mean,
गांधी
I don't
syndrome.
know how many Indians are activist in nature.
नहीं नहीं,
I
सबको
really don't know.
सबको सबको प्रोटेस्ट पे बैठने का शौक है. गांधी सिंड्रोम है हमें.
Hmm. I honestly have no opinion on this.
हम्म,
So, what's the extent of alternative use? Good question. Such as methane from landfills, coal mines, and dairy. Isn't this the right time to invest more in this tech? A
नहीं,
problem
ऑल्टरनेटिव
always
फ्यूल्स.
scalability. Scalability.
Yes. Scalability. If you can find a company that is willing to scale this, chances are it is already working on it. And one of those companies would definitely be Adani because of their push into the energy sector, renewables, and otherwise. But again, scalability. How do you cater to 1.4 billion Indians? You can't have a model where you're only creating, even if you can get a model where you're catering to 1% of the population, that's good enough. But where is it? In Delhi, CNG is an alternative fuel to petrol and diesel and EVs. But even that catering is very, very difficult. To give you one very, very basic rudimentary example, it's cost effective for the ones owning it, a CNG vehicle. But even then, do you have enough supply side measures to scale it where everyone in Delhi can say, okay, I'm dumping LPG? No. So, methane from landfills, coal mines, dairy, invest, scale kahan hai?
Hmm. Okay. What is the priority ranking for LPG, CNG? Also, if any other significant product of same raw material for the government?
Everything is priority, bro. I mean, imagine if you say there is no LNG, there will be some crisis. No LPG, crisis, ही crisis. There's no priority here. We need everything.
In a country like ours, It takes
Hmm.
different types of containers to transport LNG. Those containers are finite, so don't think they could have imported more than one,
Yeah, and
even
with
one.
he's right. Plus, with LPG, also have a storage issue. The kind of storage structures you need also require high investment with the kind of chemicals these are with the entire composition of it. तो वो भी एक प्रॉब्लम है जो सरकार भी कह रही है कि भाई स्टोरेज स्ट्रक्चर्स हम बना दें, हम आगे के लिए भी बना दें, but it's a very high investment thing. But I think the cost benefit analysis now will have another factor in it, which is an external black swan event. So containers finite हैं, structures मुश्किल हैं, कुछ तो करना ही पड़ेगा. You'll have to increase your reserves. There's no other option.
Indian Navy has been escorting tankers from the Persian Gulf since 2019 as part of Operation Salkal. Three ships, including one Vishakhapatnam class destroyer, stationed with MH-60 helis. Why are liberals whining?
One thing, look, there are three ships showing up on the map. The government is not officially confirming it. It's still source-based news, even though they're visible on the map. But they are around the Gulf of Oman. They're not escorting them to the Strait of Hormuz, at least of what we can see on the map. All right, because a lot of ships, vessels have their transponders off when they're crossing the Hormuz, so we don't know. One night they're in the Persian Gulf, the other morning they're in the Gulf of Oman, so you really don't know what's going on with their location. It's all pretty messed up. But just to be clear, right now it's more in the Gulf of Oman region, not in the Hormuz or the Persian Gulf region. So liberals are whining
Shame,
because they have to whine. Yeah, so
shame Modi ji doesn't do press conferences and TV interviews anymore. Still remember how
not his
savage he
job.
was.
Not his job. Sorry. This kind of crisis, it's not his job. That is why I'm saying you'll always have a crisis. If not an external crisis, you'll have a domestic crisis. Somewhere, some random group will decide it's important to protest. Somewhere, some law and order situation will happen. You need a press secretary model, which is done in the White House. I mean, if we can have a constitution aping the Irish one, we can have a communication model of aping the American one. It's okay.
Fair enough, but the problem is when your entire politics was made about one person systemically, you're going to face this. Now, clearly, I see the government changing. So, in the last few state elections last year, Modi ji barely campaigned.
Hmm.
And that's how things are changing now. But, boss, people get used to a style of messaging where everything
But
good. Boss, there are memes of, India won the World Cup and Mr. Modi is this big. There is a reason why
hmm,
memes are made. So we
hmm.
have to be fair. As I am an open Modi supporter, I'm going to vote for the guy in 2029 also. But the point is, you made it about one person. Now deal with the hand that has been dealt to you, is my whole point. You made it about one person. That's how they did it. We didn't do it, they did it. When my company gifted us an induction cooker for our New Year end gifts, we were all like, what the fuck? But now I thank them wholeheartedly for this. पारदर्शी थे तुम्हारे कंपनी वाले. Will the government use this crisis to push for E30 fuel and blending LPG? मतलब भाई गडकरी जी को फोन करके पूछ लो. I don't think so. But anyways, Indian oil raised price by 60 rupees from March 8th. Kerosene official sell restart from March 12th. Booking duration raised for 20 to 25 days. Book Saturday and got it after 3 days, 24 hours earlier. Directive from MOPNG. Why blame public?
No, the public is also creating a demand crisis. We're not saying the public is only to blame. When we started, the first thing we've acknowledged, and even the government is acknowledging, that there is a supply chain crisis. There is a supply side crisis. वो कोई मना नहीं कर रहा है. And the government will have to tweak certain, measures कि commercial को कम जाएगा, households को ज़्यादा जाएगा, priority कहाँ होगी, कहाँ नहीं होगी. अब जैसे मेरे घर PNG है, तो सरकार कह रही है तुम सिलेंडर मत लो. ठीक है. This also has to be one of the rules. It's not a manufactured, shortage is manufactured through the war, but we have to ensure that हर घर में चूल्हा तो चले ना भाई.
Hmm. Is the oil bonds clearing by the government going to have any positive impact? I don't think so.
It's like you cleared your debt on one credit card, but now you have an urgent expenditure. Now you do it via bonds or you do it via raising your fiscal deficit. or passing on the cost to the consumer. Two different things, but at the end, it's extra expenditure.
Do you guys see any signs through some chatter that we will push ahead on reforms now, given the situation? Yes.
See, the problem is the biggest reform that you need now is cleaning up the lower bureaucracy. And that sadly requires the will of the state governments. That is where our challenge is. When I spoke to someone about the problem of GST inspectors, they said, look, we can fix it at the center level. What do we do at the state level? That is where we are also struggling. And contrary to what you may believe, the bureaucracy workings between the center and the state far more difficult than they sound. Not an excuse to not fix them, but that is how it is. So when you say reforms, what reforms? GST was a reform that was 10 years ago almost now. You had labor reforms a couple of months back, rather 6 months back. You had GST slab change. You have other things going on. बट स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स का क्या है? जब भी हम रिफॉर्म सोचते हैं हम सेंटर पे क्यों डाल देते हैं सब? स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स क्या करेंगे? एंड लोअर ब्यूरोक्रेसी, आई थिंक इट्स अ कर्स दैट वी आर नॉट एबल टू फिक्स इट.
Why do you guys not see Karnataka in those states? No, I actually do consider
We
Karnataka as one
mentioned
of,
Karnataka. We
yeah,
mentioned Karnataka.
completely
We
got it
mentioned
backward.
Bangalore.
Yeah, I actually took spent some time praising Bengaluru and the kind of people I met this time I was there. I was like, boss, interesting city, shit traffic,
Hmm.
but interesting city. Good, good. Talk of the looming fertilizer crisis. हाँ भाई क्या crisis है बता दे.
फर्टिलाइजर के इंपोर्ट्स पे हिट होंगे, वही रशिया यूक्रेन के टाइम जो हुआ था. Again, that's at least I think the government has a buffer for the next 15-20 days. So let's see. Again, it's a situation that's still a little ahead of us right now. But right now, the priority is LPG, LNG, and crude. If this lasts for another 3 weeks, we'll start talking about fertilizers. But at that time, the global economy will be talking about a lot of other things. Then you have a different ballgame altogether. But yes, it's early days for the fertilizer crisis, but hopefully we won't get there.
See, if this goes on beyond that, then America has to take a punt of literally annihilating Iran. I don't want
Hmm.
it to happen before somebody thinks. I don't want it to happen. Always remember, America ने 1% भी अपनी muscle flex नहीं की है. For those who think America ने की है. Like, I know people have a lot of weird notions about how powerful the American enterprise is. Like, भाई थोड़ा जज्बाती ना बनो, बहुत powerful country है. अगर गांड फाड़ने पे आ गई तो
अरे
पूरी खोल डालेगी.
भाई, तो आज भी मैं किसी डिबेट पे था, एंड विद ऑल ड्यू रिस्पेक्ट, अ फॉर्मर एम्बेसडर एंड आई थिंक टू फॉर्मर एम्बेसडर्स, डी डॉलराइजेशन, अमेरिकन इकोनॉमी इज फॉल्टरिंग अवे. भाई लोग, 3 दिन की वॉर जब हुई थी ना, 2 मार्च को, people were buying the greenbacks, they were buying the dollars. When a crisis happens, people run to either gold or to dollars. Stop underestimating America. I don't know. I understand people hate America because they are strong, but
Yeah.
America
Just
is
like
America.
just like hating India in cricket is a fashion now. Ask Tim
Hmm,
Wigmore.
hmm. What happened to Tim Wigmore? He writes excellent books, though.
वो चुतिया गया है. मैं और कुछ नहीं बोल
अच्छा.
सकता. बंदा चुतिया गया है. उसके आर्टिकल्स तू पढ़ेगा पागल हो गया है. कुछ भी बोलता है.
Probably he wanted something from the BCCI and he did not get it, so probably on a
नहीं.
rant.
कुशल भाई मुंबई के बाहर भी कर लो बुक साइनिंग. देखो दिल्ली में तो करेंगे. वी विल प्लान इट. somebody had मैसेज मी कि बेंगलुरु में करो. मैंने हाँ बोला. उसके बाद वो बंदा गायब हो गया है. तो मेरा कोई लेना देना नहीं है. बस देखो मेरा कोई काम नहीं है. मैं ये बुक कोई मैंने बोला कोई मेरे लिए ये कोई बहुत बड़ी करियर मूव या ऐसा है नहीं. बुलाओगे खुशी से आ जाऊंगा. चेन्नई में बुलाओगे आ जाऊंगा. हैदराबाद में बुलाओगे आ जाऊंगा. करना आपको पड़ेगा. मैं
पंजाब में कर
इनिशिएटिव नहीं
ले.
लेने वाला. पंजाब में मुझे माफ कर दो. नहीं आना मुझे. नहीं जाना मुझे नहीं जाना मुझे. भाई मैं नहीं जाना चाहता हूँ. सिंपल सी बात है. मेरे को कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं है. If Iran does its best to not let USA have a graceful exit, are we all fucked? Like sanctions of Russia had long-term financial and market impact.
I don't know. I mean, what if not a graceful exit? मैं कहता हूँ एग्जिट नहीं होता फिर क्या होगा? The war wages on until when? See, Iran has now figured out the answer to this. They don't care for American soldiers or American drones or American B-2s. They look at refineries in the Gulf nations, they look at the Hormuz. They're like, let's strangle the global economy. It's that simple. TSMC has one bad week and Apple will start having headaches before the September launch. That's how interlinked our economies are. This goes on for one more month, our farmers will start having headaches along with our government. That's how interlinked we all are. And that is why you see Europeans and Canadians pulling away from Trump's call to send in warships to Hormuz. They do not want any part in this because they know the
Yeah.
more countries jump in, the longer it goes on for.
So I have to share this. So this is a gentleman I respect a lot. One of the best journalists in India, Ravinder Singh Robin. Everybody go follow Ravinder ji on X. वो बोल रहे हैं अमृतसर में, ओ भाई साहब तुसी कर लियो मैं आ जाऊंगा.
करो भाई करो. तुम चलो मैं
गुस्सा हो गया. ओए why not पंजाब? ओए तेरी ancestral land है, इधर आ तू. सर तुसी कर दियो मैं आ
the,
जाऊंगा.
the wonderful kulchas would be on me. चलो पंजाब चलते हैं.
खाना तो मैं आज भी बोलता हूँ अमृतसर से अच्छा किधर नहीं है. एंड कैन आई जस्ट से ही वाज
Best.
सो काइंड एंड नाइस टू मी when I was there in Amritsar. He really helped me out in every way possible. And let me share a personal story. Okay, I was sitting with him and I requested, we started talking about my my nani is originally from Lahore, and I told him how I wish I could see the lane where my nani was from. This guy, this man, called someone in Pakistan, made that person drive down that road, take a video, and he sent it to me just for my request. That's how nice this man is.
That's good.
Yeah. And I showed it to my mom, and my mom was eternally grateful. He's a very nice man. And all of you go follow him. He'd say you will learn so much from the gentleman. And मेरे मुंह से किसी की तारीफ बहुत कम होती है. मैं सिर्फ लोगों को गालियां देता हूँ. All right. So should India offer a tax holiday for all the people in the GCC region in order to take advantage of this crisis and get some FDI back in the country? Boss, I'll share my view. During COVID, everybody was like, "Ye kar do, wo kar do, wo kar do," and I clearly remember Sanjeev Sanyal calling everyone quietly. And I'm going to take this opportunity to praise Sanjeev Sanyal. Okay. I remember Sanjeev ji calling everyone. I was one of the few he had called. And sabki suni unhone, and a lot of inputs were incorporated. The best thing the government did was we did not go ki ye free kar do, ye paisa de do, ye paisa de do. We were very incremental, and in the long run, the economic impact of that was felt in the Western world, and we actually rode the wave much better. So I'm sure the government will do something to deal with this, but crash, boom, bang, I don't know. Now I'll hand it over to Tushar to answer and whatever his point of view is.
No, this discussion also came out when the whole H1B thing was going on in America just 3-4 months ago, when there was this talk about $1 million being required to renew the H1B. Tax holidays, why not? Why not? Get as many high net worth individuals or high talented individuals back to India. That is what the Chinese did. Incentivize coming back to India.
इंडिया में
There's
दुबई
nothing
जैसे
wrong.
टैक्स हेवंस बनाओ.
टैक्स हेवंस बना दो.
Why
पर
why
लोगों
can't
का
we?
पर एक चीज जो मैंने देखी है, पीपल हु आर हाई नेट वर्थ इंडिविजुअल्स अब्रॉड, दे डोंट केयर अबाउट टैक्स ब्रेक्स. What they care about is the quality of life, about being harassed by, say, someone locally, say a local police officer or some local bureaucrat for the business they start. I think that is what troubles them more. I don't think they have made enough money by the grace of God to not worry about taxes. Their more concern is the quality of life, if their children will feel safe, if they have the right quality of food and water. So I think that is what drives the decision, not the tax breaks. Just saying. So
Yeah. So by activism, I mean what happened to Samay Raina. Listen, that's not activism. That's just the outrage economy. In fact, if you buy my book and read it, I have used Samay Raina and Ranveer Alabadia as one of the examples in detail in my book, and many other examples when it comes to free speech in India and the lack of clarity at a conceptual level when it comes to free speech in India. So I don't think so. Samay was a victim of activism. I don't want to talk about it in detail because you know what? Honestly, Samay has moved on. I wish the guy nothing but happiness and success in life. Like, I know him and he's a very nice boy. He's a good guy. He's a decent guy. So अभी यार उसकी लाइफ अभी सॉर्ट हो रही है, उसको खुश रहने दो, इज ऑल आई कैन से.
Mm.
लेट देम बी हैप्पी. वो खुश है, उसको खुश रहने दो. प्रॉब्लम तो है कुशल भाई, मेरे यहाँ छोले भटूरे वाला दुकान नहीं खोल रहा बहुत दिनों से. उसके उसके पढ़ने पड़े क्लियर है भाई, छोले भटूरे खाने को नहीं मिल रहे मेरे को. भाई कोई इसको जाके खिला दो. क्या नाम है इसका? धीरज जायसवाल 8809. इसको इसको कोई छोले भटूरे खिला दो भाई इसको. We need to double down on thorium. Thoughts? I actually agree on this. It's a technological issue. मगर वो यूरेनियम से थोरियम में जो रिएक्टर्स का वो जो प्रॉब्लम है वो है.
And we
And
have
somebody
quite
who
many.
understands this told me that.
Okay.
So we have a family friend who used to work in BARC. He was also working behind the scenes on a lot of these things, and he explained this to me. What I meant was that, like, most of LPG produced in India is a byproduct, but that also goes into plastic. You can't dry up those industries also. I agree. It has to be balanced out, and the government will eventually have to do something major about it. Like, I'll give you an example. You remember during COVID, we realized that we don't even make freaking PPE kits. And then overnight, a lot
We
of Indian
became
textile mills,
exporters.
we became PPE
Yeah.
exporters in a matter of a few
Mm.
days. Honestly, in
Yeah.
like 3-4 weeks we were. And can I just take this opportunity to praise Smriti Irani, who was the minister at that time of textiles. I
Mm.
know how hard she worked behind the scenes at that time. So I will credit her where it's due for this one. She really worked hard. So if we get our act together, we can do things correctly, but we don't get our act together good enough on multiple times. Is there any way to
Yeah.
reform the lower and middle bureaucracy? I wish we could industrialize Punjab through textiles. I feel bad for our people there. Now, the first question is, can we? Yes. The best way to solve this problem is get the government out of our fucking life, in my opinion.
Mm.
I believe the best way to solve any problem related to the government is to make the government redundant and let them get out of our fucking life. Now, the second bit on Punjab, boss, you will not find two people other than Tushar and I who have consistently spoken about Punjab, at least on the YouTube and the digital media landscape from an economic perspective. So I'll give you an example because textile is my background. I used to have an office in Ludhiana where we used to sell auxiliaries to textile processing units, hosiery की units को. बहुत सारी फैक्ट्री होती थी, ओसवाल और बहुत सारे ऐसे सब होते थे उधर. What we used to realize in our talks with all these industries in Ludhiana is A, water, B, they were treated so badly by the Punjab local state government, and this is cutting across party lines. Okay, all of them. They used to treat industry so badly because everybody just wanted the farmers' vote, and the farmers would be calling the shots, and that industry went away, and Tirupur just ate them up. Now, can we take some of that Bangladesh business back? I don't know, man. Like Punjab has a social problem, boss. Punjab has a social problem. Look, I don't say this, in a satirical way about Punjab. I want Punjab to do well. But boss, if you travel the length and breadth of Punjab, and if every fourth or fifth hoarding is to migrate out, I am telling you it's not the case in other parts of India. There is something deeply off in that state. I don't know what to do. I don't know what Tushar wants to say.
It's a story for another day.
It's
It's too long.
depressing because it's literally where both of us are from.
The farmer protest not because of the policy loss, but the kind of attitude that was shown towards private sector investment. I think that took the state back by 10 years easily. And then you had Congress doing certain flip flops. Congress under Amrinder Singh was acceptable. I mean, even with all the faults of Amrinder Singh, but I don't know it's really up to under Charanjit Singh Channi. And the Aam Aadmi Party, I mean, it's the state has a debt of 3.5 lakh crore. The capital investment in that state is lower than most northeastern states, lesser than Himalayan states. Can you believe it? So I don't know what there is left to be said, but the state needs to make money, and it can only make money via the private sector. The state the state prosperity is visibly going down, and you still have power sector subsidies for the farmers who afford cars that even the top businessmen of this country cannot. Someone making 10 CR a year cannot afford those cars, which some Arthiyas or some large landowners in Punjab do. But those same people get power subsidy also. Why? So, these things, I don't know, it's just
Uninstalled threads because of shit on illogical post and comment. Gas crunch is there, but all want to eat biryani. I do not understand this, so I'm moving on. Kushal and Tushar, don't you think we should double down on solar and nuclear as another alternative form? Solar, I don't know how much more we want to do. We are already moving the fastest in solar. Nuclear, we need to double down, and I think if you look at the last budget, we have already done that. And the deal with Canada is all about what? Nuclear. Okay, Kushal, you inspired me to work on a video regarding Indian sociogenetic history. I earnestly invite you to watch and debate it when it releases. Thank you for your efforts. Well, sure, you email me your video. I mean, I'm assuming you're talking about it from a population genetics perspective. So, just one input from me. Look, I'm not a geneticist. Whatever I have understood, a lot of these papers, right, whether it was the Vagish Narasimhan paper or many other papers that I've actually covered them in detail on my members only content. And you're a member, so I'm assuming, or if you're not a member, you should become one, and you will check out that we've discussed a lot of genetics papers over there. The problem is the axiom and the sample size they use. Like, Vagish used a lot of those Onge people ka samples, but you should check how many samples were there in that. So I'm just sharing some honest input with you. I'm not dismissing it at all. Movement of people is real, genetic movement is real, but do not ever confuse genetic and mimetic movement. I'll give you an example. Buddhism spread to the entire Asian region. Check where our gene has spread over there. So mimetic movement and genetic movement are two separate things, and I hope you keep that in your mind, boss. Just one honest input. I'm assuming you have not. You may have considered that and you may have done that. And if you have, boss, well done. I meant the tax holiday for NRI and OCI. Take this, Tushar, in order to offset the current account deficit caused by the oil price rise.
I am all for your idea. I'm all for your idea. Will they come in? Their decision, I mean, is not based on that tax breaks or tax holidays. Their decisions are based on entirely something else. But as an idea, I think it was even suggested to the government when this whole H1B crisis came up. Maybe they are working on it. I mean, from what I've heard, it's an idea that's under consideration. When it happens, will it happen? It's hard to say right now, but I can definitely tell you it's under consideration.
Okay. All right. Okay, so you have become a member. Now, when you go on the members thing, right, there is a playlist called Papers, Papers. In that, we've discussed multiple papers. And in that, a lot of population genetics papers are also there. So go check that out. And also, there is a detailed podcast there where one of the people who joins our discussion, who is actually more into genetics, he's done multiple explanations. So check out. See, we have covered more than 10 books. So I'm talking about content that is like 500 hours. I know it sounds insane. I've been doing this for 5+ years. So members get like 500 plus hours of content. So different tiers, different. So Speak With Me gets. I'm sorry, I have to explain this because you asked a question. No other reason. I had no interest. So Speak With Me gets Valmiki Ramayana, Manusmriti, Yajnavalkya ki Smriti on top, but the other Seekers tiers also gets like hours and hours of content. So देख लो आपको जो करना है कर लेना. I'm from Rajasthan. When I try to study, we don't do as good as the other state. Try to compare, got nothing. Least troubling state for India all time. No grant like other states get in similar situation. Like I honestly I don't have a knowledge of Rajasthan. I've never studied that state beyond tourism. So I don't know. Maybe Tushar knows more. I will completely accept I'm ignorant.
On Rajasthan to in what context? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Like state wise comparisons जो हम लोग बता रहे थे ना, pretty much
Ah,
India's story
Rajasthan. No,
is
no.
5 states.
Rajasthan also needs to pull up. But Rajasthan, again, someone will say it has a geographical challenge, a legacy problem of sorts, because he's just started developing the entire desert region. So Rajasthan, again, it's like comparing a Himalayan state with a state like Gujarat or Karnataka or Maharashtra. So Rajasthan has a lot of pulling up to do, but fantastic infrastructure. I love that state personally. I was there recently. I love that state. I love the calmness there, the silence there, the peace there. So I love it. But to compare it on metrics, like we were comparing West Bengal and Gujarat, the state has a lot of legacy problems that are only getting solved. But even then, I think it's a comparison that can be done. Why not?
किसी ने क्या पूछा है मेरे को? भाई बुक लॉन्च में समोसा कोल्ड ड्रिंक मिलेगा? अबे यार कुछ तो शर्म करो यार. बुक मिलेगी, आना है आ जाना, समोसा खुद खा लेना खरीद के. A slightly off topic question, but I had to ask you, did you five guys follow the 5 Ukrainian and 1 American national arrested by the NIA? What do you make of this? I will read more, study more, and then get back.
Early to comment right now, unless the
Too early to
government makes the
comment,
comment.
and never make statements in haste about matters of national security. Stupid people do that. Stupid people do that, is all I can say. Never make comments in haste. What should the BJP NDA do to effectively counter such false narratives as like this LPG crisis intent to incite Hindus against the BJP? Do more press conferences, which they didn't, is the honest answer. Do more press conferences. Make your spokespersons go and talk to people. Educate your ward, mandal, jilla level person. Make them talk. Give them talking points.
Hmm.
Just they don't do it. Yeah, रावली में कुछ नेचुरल गैस मिलता है क्या? ये मेरे को नहीं मालूम भाई, माफ कर दो.
But देखो
Okay,
अरावली के आसपास कैसा एक्टिविज्म खत्म भी हो चुका है.
yeah. Please do a podcast on Indian states comparison based on economy and infrastructure with Tushar भाई. ये request आई है.
भाई बहुत बहुत FIRs हो जाएंगी हमारे खिलाफ. क्यों क्यों? Because see, numbers don't lie. Our opinion might be subjective, but numbers aren't subjective. And these are numbers coming from the state governments themselves, their economic surveys, their budgets. So, I mean, I would love to. I think I will probably accumulate as much data as I can. And it's like having an IPL of states, an IPL economy league of states. So, yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah. अभी तक गुजरात में कोई प्रॉब्लम दिख नहीं रही है एलपीजी की.
चलो.
आई डोंट नो, आई हैव नो आइडिया, बट क्या पाइप गैस कनेक्टिविटी का क्या सीन है उधर, वो भी कंपैरेटिव एनालिसिस करना पड़ेगा ना बिफोर ड्राइंग दिस कंक्लूजन. It all depends on this. भाई किसी ने तुझे बोला है एटलीस्ट सबस्टैक कर ले उसके ऊपर. वो चाहता है
हो
सिर्फ तू
जाएगा.
जेल में जाए, मैं नहीं जाऊं.
But mind you, one of the MPs of TMC has already sent me a defamation notice once upon a time. So no,
हाँ.
but we'll do it. There's no harm. We'll do it.
नहीं नहीं, अच्छी बात है ना. तू तू थोड़ा जेल थोड़ा तू जेल में जाएगा तो मैं बोलूंगा आई सपोर्ट तुषार गुप्ता. Okay,
Hmm.
before we wrap up, once again, if you've not bought my book, go buy it right now. It's called Blasphemy, Let Me Speak. And if you are from Mumbai or MMR, whatever, in and around this area, do come to Tidal Waves Bandra on the 22nd of March. We will have Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Ami Ganatra, Harsh Madhusudan Gupta और भी होगी. और देखो, आप मेरी बुक की एडवांटेज सोचो. मैंने ये बुक लिखी थी कि ताकि आप जेल में ना जाओ, मगर अगर आप जेल में जाओगे तो मेरी बुक खरीद के जाना, तो दोनों तरफ से आपका फायदा है, जेल में भी पढ़ने को मिलेगी और जेल में नहीं जाने को भी मिलेगा लॉन्ग रन में. तो anyways, so I'll see you guys there. As always, follow Tushar. His Substack is amazing. The link to his Substack is there in the description of this podcast. Go subscribe to his Substack also. He writes brilliantly. Go follow him on X. You can challenge his data by
Yeah.
sharing more data, and he will happily read that. गाली दोगे वो नहीं पड़ेगा, मगर अगर डेटा शेयर करोगे, आई कैन गारंटी यू, एज तुषार फ्रेंड, आई नो वो हमेशा शेयर करता है. एंड वी आर trying to create this atmosphere where we are trying to focus more and more on serious deep dives. Tushar and I are in talks of creating more of that content. Let's see how we do. Last ek tha, what I meant was states like Himachal get grants for being unfavorable geographically, but also states like Bihar and UP, even Northeast, get many grants. We get nothing. Rajasthan.
So to this, I was just going through the Finance Commission report a couple of days ago, the one that came out recently with this year's budget. I'll actually put out the data on my Substack along with the charts from the Finance Commission report itself, where Rajasthan stands. It's a good question to have, and let's actually focus on each state one by one. No harm.
We'll look
probably
into
get
it. And boss, and if your point is legit, I will personally write a letter to the Prime Minister's office. जो मेरी जितनी औकात है मैं उतना तो कर दूंगा. लेटर तो लिख सकते हैं, इतना कर
नहीं, ये
सकते हैं.
numbers, नहीं, these numbers are good, यार. I think it's a good question. Let's look into it. Why not?
Yeah, once again, ladies and ladas, I will see you here on Sunday 12 noon. आओ, come in large numbers. अपना ही बुक स्टोर है उस दिन, और आना मिलना मुझे. बाकी मेरी बुक ले लो अभी जाके, लिंक है डिस्क्रिप्शन में. फॉलो, बुक साइनिंग होगी कुशल भैया, ऑब्वियसली बुक साइनिंग होगी ना, नहीं तो मैं बुक लॉन्च क्यों कर रहा हूँ? बुक लॉन्च इसलिए कर रहा हूँ ताकि आके तुम मुझे चपेड़े मारो. मतलब ये कैसी बात हुई यार? मतलब बुक साइनिंग में, बुक लॉन्च में बुक साइनिंग नहीं होती तो क्या होता है? और क्या होता है? मतलब भेलपुड़ी बनानी है तुमने उसकी. वैसे मुझे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. मेरी देखो, लोग बोलते हैं मैं तेरी बुक जला दूंगा, मैं पूरा सपोर्ट करता हूँ उसको. खरीदो
भाई
मेरी
रख लियो
बुक.
समोसे, रख लियो
नहीं नहीं
समोसे.
नहीं नहीं, मैं कहता हूँ मेरी बुक खरीदो, उसके बाद उसको जलाओ, मुझे कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. क्योंकि याद रखना, मैं नास्तिक हूँ, मुझे कोई अटैचमेंट नहीं है. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.